So, in the last month, there has been a really large, high-profile release in the world of video game to cinema/TV. And in the nicest way possible, I don't think there should have been. I'm, of course, talking about the wonderful Netflix series of Resident Evil, a show that I finished, but I think finished me way before I was finished with it.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if you guys...
if you got past the first episode, then you're really just there for out of obligation, I guess, to finish it.
It's like I was hooked in the worst kind of way possible.
They did a study that like people can't stand leaving things unfinished. Like if you're listening to a music track, right, and it finishes midway through, there's a sizable percentage of the population that's just can't handle that. They find it very kind of uncomfortable, and I'm pretty sure that the entire Netflix show is based on the assumption that getting those people in to watch it, because anybody else would tune out after the first episode. It was
it's Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, no, because in Stockholm syndrome you end up loving it. There was no way anybody's going to end up loving this show.
Yeah, I mean, I've never expected a show called Resident Evil based on one of my favorite series to make me watch a scene where the head of the Umbrella Corporation is puppeteered into dancing and singing "Don't Start Now" by Dua Lipa.
What?
I wish I was like talking shit. This happens.
I feel like Harvard hasn't seen it yet.
It sounds like you just made that up as a joke.
No, that happens. In the final
no,
episode.
You know what really got me was like so many scenes of it are just random things that are thrown in there for like I remember doing a zombie thing back at university for film studies class, and I swear the production standards and the framing of the camera and all that stuff was pretty much about what this Resident Evil series was. And I'm not saying that like I was definitely not good at any of this, so this is a very amateurish production, like in every way.
In the nicest way possible, it comes across like a student film.
Yeah, exactly.
But without the charm and without the hope that I have to see them do better in the future, and without like the quality that actually shines through as often, and also just without everything that I think is good about cinema. It has so many moments where it comes across like it's written like a Life is Strange game as well.
Yeah, it's weird they tried to like mesh that.
They make it so weird, and it's not Resident Evil. Like none of it feels like Resident Evil. And
that's feel like insane. The movies.
It's like this desperate effort to make Resident Evil like liberal woke, like American liberal woke. You know, if that makes sense. Like that's the vibe they're going for. They're trying to refocus. Like they're trying to catch to that audience with this thing. That's the demographic they're going after, and it's just tonally out. Like it doesn't make sense at all.
Because I don't know who it's for, because it's not for
those
me.
People. It's exactly for those people. It's like for
But they're not going to watch it.
I know.
Why would you make it?
I know. It's a very uniquely, this is for a very specific American audience made TV show. And I don't like it. I didn't think it would be possible to make a worse Resident Evil thing than the recent Resident Evil film.
Oh, Welcome to Raccoon City.
Yeah, where they tried to like mesh in Resident Evil 1 into it, and the only thing about that entire film that was worthwhile was they actually did a decent job of capturing the mansion kind of lobby. Like that was good.
Yeah.
The one scene where they're walking into the lobby of the mansion, that was pretty spot on to the game. But the rest of the film, literally every other second of the 1.5 hours of it, was just the worst trash. And I did not think it would be possible to do worse than that. But at least that film was Resident Evil, as bad as it was. This thing is not Resident Evil at all.
It has nothing to do with it. It's insane to me. There's also a character who has the worst accent I've ever heard in my life. And I hope it's not their real accents. I'm not like dunking on them. I genuinely hope that's not the case. But like,
I mean, I kept forgetting that Wesker was Wesker, even though he kept saying his name every 2 seconds. Like I just kept forgetting this is not Wesker. I
he's not Wesker.
I couldn't get my head around that this guy is Wesker. It didn't make sense.
He's just a nice man in the show. He's just kind. He's just a good guy. And then you think back and it's like, this is the same Wesker that died in 2009 in a fucking volcano with a rocket launcher. And I was like, oh, okay, they're just doing it. All right. And then, so what really pisses me off, this is now turning into an angry video game nerd thing. What really pisses me off is they took so many things from the video games and reappropriated them without any like concern for what the implication would be. So it's set in the same universe as the games, but not all of the games. So it's set up to, I think, Resident Evil 5. It's in the same world. But then after that, nothing else matters. But then there's also the mold from Resident Evil 7. So they've cut out a whole bunch of like the Terror Save stuff from Revelations. They've cut out all of 6. They've cut out like a bunch of just random stuff. And it's not really explained what timeline we're in. And the whole show, right, does this thing where it goes between 2 different periods of time. One where the main character is a teenager. So it's a teen drama. It's Riverdale, but worse than Riverdale in every single way. It's awful. Truly awful. And then it goes into the future where it's the main character as a like zombie survivor / researcher thing. They don't explain how she gets to that point at the start of the future section. They don't explain who the child's father is. They don't explain like half of the important, interesting stuff that's set up in like the future setting. And it just ends. And nothing's ever explained.
Second season, Alan.
No,
so you watched the second season.
There is not going to be one.
This is not going to get a second season. This is not going to get a second season.
It has a 3.2 on like IMDb.
It's not getting a second season.
The intention was for the second season.
Yeah, the intention was for yes, you're right. You are right.
Did you like the James Corden character who wasn't James Corden but might as well have been James Corden?
No.
Oh, I didn't either.
I honestly did not I aggressively disliked everything about this show. Everything. Like,
it was horrific.
There was nothing that redeemed it at all. Zero.
Also, the Zootopia porn joke, that was normal.
Yeah. So
what is this show?
You should watch the first episode just to see just how bad it really is.
If you can stomach it, because it is a slog.
Yeah. Yeah, it is right up there with I kid you not, I made a tweet about this. Like I've seen all the bad science fiction films from the 50s and 60s. I love that stuff. Like this old science fiction and horror genres, which are just everything is terrible in them and they're a joke. I love that stuff. And I just this is just beyond the worst of that stuff.
It's offensive that nothing happens in its 8 hours of runtime. The final episode is an hour and 10 minutes. It is almost feature film length and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's just very amateurish. So, and I guess to broaden it, to make this thing kind of a conversation, why do you think it is that they struggle so much to adapt video games to film, or to television or film? Because it's not just this one. It's very rare that somebody is able to turn a video game or a game in general into a film and make it successful. Like as we record this, the trailer for the Dungeons and Dragons film, the new one, is all of 1 day old, and it is a raging trash fire that, as a Dungeons and Dragons fan, since I was like a kid, I am offended by its just very existence. And it looks like it's going to be much the same thing. And it would be so easy to do a Dungeons and Dragons film if you had the right people behind it, I would think.
It's just a fantasy adventure movie.
Well, they've got like entire series of books with great characters that they could easily go and convert into a film. But instead, they've gone and created this thing where Chris Pine is running badly and there's like a dragon shooting brown poo rather than fire. And
sounds shit.
That's what it looks like. I think it's meant to be like oil, and then the dragon comes back and shoots fire or something, and it all burns. But it doesn't come across that way at all. Anyway, it looks like an absolute trash fire. So, Harvard, why do you think they struggle so much to take video games or gaming properties and turn them into interesting cinema and or television?
So I've got 2 theories. First of all is that whenever you're adapting from game to film, you're actually taking out a big dynamic of it. Like, I don't think anyone plays the Resident Evil games for narrative, right? And if you were actually
Unironically me.
Yeah, but if they took out all of the gameplay from like Resident Evil 4 and just made you watch the cutscenes as a film, it would be a bad film, right?
It would be
Yeah.
phenomenal. I don't know what you're talking about.
People do
No,
this.
no,
There's YouTube of this.
I would watch that every night, and when he says your right hand comes off, I would cheer.
Okay,
I
so
also
that's my
cried at
first
the end
theory gone.
Yeah, I cried.
No,
at the end of
that is a good theory, I reckon, Harvard. I think you're right there, that like the gameplay is pretty important to those experiences, the interactivity.
And the other thing is, people don't set out to make video game movies or TV shows because they like the property and because they want to tell a good story, because the game did that, right? The game is there to tell that good story. Whenever anyone makes any of these, it's just like, we have an established fan base and we can sell them some crap.
Oh my
Actually-
God, you're so right. Like there's a great example of that. There was, remember the Warcraft film? I mean,
Yeah,
loved
the
it.
one with like
Oh,
Duncan Ball and
yeah, okay, maybe. I mean, it was relatively good.
Duncan Jones, I mean, sorry.
It was relatively good by film adaptations of properties, but it was still a very content thing, right? And I remember this interview where a really well-respected film journalist was talking to the director of it, and the director kept talking in kind of PR video game terms, like, we think the fan base is going to enjoy this, we've created great content, something. And the journalist ended up getting up and walking out because
it's not a film, right? It's not made to tell a story with film. It's just selling some crap.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
like
the
a
same
merchant
story that's been told before.
It's brand management or merchandising opportunities rather than an effort to actually bring this stuff into a different medium. So you're totally right. Like, for all the criticism I have of Marvel and even DC films, they seem to be much more genuine attempts to take the base property and actually turn it into something that's appropriate for film.
It's like how I tweeted that the new Doctor Strange is like way better at doing all those jump scare stuff than any of the more recent Resident Evil stuff, because that's like the like what they're trying to do in the new Doctor Strange is basically all that B-grade horror is like the whole film. And like, I mean, even that's a bit jarring in how they've done it, but like, it sounds like at least that's a bit more tolerable than what recent Resident Evil TV and movies have done. So,
well, I mean, you think about like zombie movies, right? The actual cinema world of zombie movies, there's a lot of really smart films. Like Romero's films are all notoriously intelligent first and foremost, and then kind of jump scare B-grade horror second. It's kind of just the format that he uses to deliver some pretty compelling messages and themes. There's also like 28 Days Later and various other zombie films which use the zombies in a way that they then make some kind of theme and messaging to get across. Whereas the video game adaptations of Resident Evil and whatnot, they're not really there to try and say anything meaningful. They're just there to put Resident Evil in film form. So I think that's part of it as well. When you're a filmmaker working on an original property or an adaptation of something outside of games, you probably have a little bit more leeway to actually say something.
And then you've also got the other issue, I guess, where with video games, like, 28 Days Later, like everyone can joke that that's basically The Last of Us as like, a movie. Like a lot of those zombie movies, you can be like, that's The Last of Us. Whereas The Last of Us is not going to be a good TV show. Is it?
Yeah, like
exactly.
It is
Can't
not
wait to watch that one crash and burn. It's going to be so awful.
But the other thing is, I feel like that's a good point. I feel like a lot of narrative video games are pulling stuff from film anyway. So when you readapt it back into film, it's like whispers, right? It's retreading content that's already been, or ideas that have already been done before, but with this new garbled inability to understand what made the original so great and so worth making.
That's it. Like the original Resident Evil was an attempt to take Romero's kind of zombie thing and put it in a video game, but without the social commentary and the kind of the political elements that were in Romero's stuff. So as a result, you had this really kind of entertaining and very campy kind of B-grade shooty action thing. So then when it comes time to take that and turn it into a film, what you've got is like it's like Chinese whispers of taking the original concept and making little changes each way, and by the end of it, it doesn't resemble anything like what the original intent was. So
Yeah. On a positive note, though, I think the only one that's actually done that well was, funnily enough, the Sonic movies. Like the last two Sonic movies have taken the elements of Sonic that were key to the character and then did something with it, rather than just trying to take a game story and telling it again, but worse.
I think Detective Pikachu was actually really good.
I was going to say that as well. Yeah, it's the
it was
same
fine.
kind of
Because
idea
it
of
was
making
like
a movie.
they weren't trying to be Pokemon, you know, like they took the idea of Pokemon but then turned it into its own thing. They whereas, and I haven't seen the Sonic films because Sonic, but from what I understand,
they're really good.
It is basically
They're
that.
great.
It's like they've taken the Sonic games but made their own thing with it, rather than just try to push the video game content into film.
Yeah. I think that's what also went wrong. Remember Doom with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
That was a Uwe Boll movie, though, right? That was never going to be a
no,
good movie.
no, it was not a Uwe Boll film. It was
Oh, was
actually
it not?
it was actually a fairly high budgeted film. I don't know the director. I can't remember the director off the top of my head, but it wasn't Uwe Boll. It was a guy that kind of knew what he was doing. But they lost me. They lost me when they had like the first person shooter segment.
Oh, they did that in Resident Evil as well.
But Resident Evil not even a first-person shooter.
Yeah, I know.
No, but Doom had this long extended first person shooter sequence, which was hilariously bad because it's like, yeah, it was just so
Look good.
No,
But
that
speaking
was
of
great.
speaking of Uwe Boll, he did that too with his House of the Dead film, which was his breakout film.
God.
But instead of having the actors do first person shooter bit, he just took footage out of the game and stuck it into the film. Which is,
I've not watched it out of like fear, but that's phenomenal.
you have to.
That's a level of not giving a shit that I appreciate on a personal level.
House of the Dead is an excellent film. When you've got a lot of alcohol. But
Was Uwe Boll the guy who threatened to fight journalists?
yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he did do that.
Uwe Boll had such an interesting career because like he is just an objectively bad filmmaker, right? And at the start, he was doing House of the Dead and Alone in the Dark and those kinds of films, which were
Alone in the Dark with Tara Reid as a scientist.
yeah, and they were just so obscenely terrible. They were kind of entertaining. Something happened though. Like after he did 5 or 6 films, Uwe Boll started to get a little bit better. Not good by any means, but just a little bit better. So his films stopped being so stupid, and that made them even worse. Funnily enough. So
he did the Postal movie. I knew he did a video game.
Yeah, he did Postal movie, and also what was it?
He did In the Name of the King.
Dungeon,
A Dungeon King story.
Yeah,
like
that film is the
with Jeremy Irons.
That film is the closest that Uwe Boll gets to competent, and as a result, it's actually his least watchable film because it's just bad. It's not bad funny. It's not bad hilarious. It's not Blood Rain bad.
Oh God, I forgot about Blood Rain.
Blood Rain was
great. No.
Blood Rain. Do you know what I love most about Blood Rain is he was doing, again, I was reading interviews that he did in promoting this film, and his entire interviews for that film were basically like, yeah, we got her naked. Like that was his like key take point. That was it. That was it.
I mean, he knew what the audience wanted.
Yeah.
That was the audience for Blood Rain. Like, what do you want from him?
We got her naked and she was so hot. He's just
Yeah.
he's the creepiest guy. Like,
I mean, he was just doing it all as like a scam for like the German tax system or something, right?
well, that was the other thing. He was actually making a lot of money from it because he was exploiting a loophole. And it was like that Mel Brooks film. I can't remember the name of it, but like they had to make the worst film they possibly could because the company,
the producers.
The producers,
not company.
Yeah,
my bad.
Yeah, and it was basically like live action, the producers, like real life, the producers.
It's phenomenal.
And now he's listening to this. He's gonna threaten, like he's gonna challenge me to a boxing match now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's such a limit with like video game adaptations. If it's not being done with just like the world and the setting, and then completely different characters, I think it's not worthwhile watching. Because why would you watch something that's just the same thing, but told in a medium that's less reactive to you.
I mean, the
You know
one
what I
I
mean?
did, the one I did enjoy, and I don't think it's a brilliant film, but I think it's quite watchable and for what it is. I like the Silent Hill film.
Yeah,
I did
because
like
they
the
did their own
Silent Hill.
thing.
They did, and they just focused on capturing the atmosphere. And Silent Hill is just an atmosphere thing. Like it's an intelligent kind of series of games as well. But the thing that you remember most from Silent Hill is that atmosphere, and I think they focused on that quite well and did a good job with it. And yeah, I quite enjoyed that film.
It's like how Shattered Memories will always be the best Silent Hill game, because it's just like, at that point, Silent Hill was just like so mainstream, and it was just so completely different to anything else in the property at that point, and it's so good.
Did I see news that Kojima's looking at doing a film?
Maybe
I think
Kojima's doing his own thing at this point. He's also apparently the one who shot the former prime minister. So he's very busy.
I'm pretty sure I saw something about Kojima Productions actually getting into filmmaking, and
I believe it.
Death Stranding, the film. If Kojima's involved, I could see that working. I mean, he always wanted to be a film director anyway.
Well,
I mean,
apparently
it's
he's
pretty
also
obvious.
got an Xbox project or something, which is apparently he's working into. And about the thing about him shooting the president, apparently he's like trying to sue like all like the right wing like media and stuff like that. We spread that image and all this other stuff.
Well,
great.
it was funny. It was funny because it was just somebody probably
It's like a
Googled
4chan post.
No, I'm pretty sure what happened. Well, I mean, pretty sure. The only way I can see it happening was somebody Google searched for like Japanese guy Che Guevara and found a bunch of photos of Kojima with Che shirts or near artworks or whatever, because he's a well-known fan of the guy. And that's just where that story came from, which I think is
insane.
It's hilarious.
It's utterly mental. Just to get back on track though, I think that if there was to be another movie or another TV series of a video game, I think the one that I would want to see, and this is a bit, it's odd because I don't think there's any reason for it, but I just want to see like a Sea of Thieves one, because I think that is the easiest way to get like in the world, just say, oh, it's pirates sailing around. Each episode focuses on a new pirate. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing to do with the game. It's just in the world.
I can't take that game seriously anymore ever again.
Why?
Because of the stupid immature joke.
What's that?
You know the joke, Alan.
No, I don't.
You know the joke, Alan.
I'm losing my mind. Should I know the joke?
No. So you ask someone, hey, do you want to play Sea of Thieves? And they go, what's Sea of Thieves? And then you say, Sea of Thieves fit in your mouth.
What?
I just got utterly mind flooded.
I'm absolutely lost here.
I'm so sorry.
What high school is Harvard still going to?
It's a D's nuts joke.
Sea of D's. Oh, Harvard.
So going back to
I thought you were better than that. Yeah.
They could make it as like an anthology series.
Exactly.
Where it's like a different, I think it'd be great. That would be fun.
I would love that. I'd also love a Forza Horizon series where it's just a bloke going, I want to go vroom.
Only if they got Baby Driver directed to do it.
Yeah, if they got Edgar Wright to do it.
That
awesome.
would be amazing.
I'd actually watch that.
Yeah, I would. Actually, now I want that to happen.
What would you want as a series then, Matt?
Well, the thing is, a lot of the stuff I would like or would have thought would work as a series just hasn't. I would have thought Dynasty Warriors would work as a film because it just kind of captures the action bits from Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and
that's just 300.
Yeah,
that's just
that's what I was expecting. I thought just do 300 the Dynasty Warriors edition, but then I watched the Dynasty Warriors film and no, not even close. They absolutely messed that one up. And then I honestly would have thought that Assassin's Creed would have worked as a film, and that film
was
did
such
not
a bad
work.
film.
And
oh
it wasn't,
my god, that was
and it
so
wasn't,
bad.
And it wasn't because they lacked for anything. Like the director was an excellent talent. He's the guy that did the Macbeth film, which is
they got
film.
Michael Fassbender to do.
They got Fassbender, who's a very good quality actor. Like there was no reason that film should have failed except for.
And they spent a lot of money too.
Did exactly. It was
the entire time I was
$100
watching,
film.
I was like, this was very expensive to make. Why'd you do this?
And they've just messed it up completely. And I was genuinely offended by it because I used to be a big fan of Assassin's Creed. And I was expecting that could work. Like I really thought that could work. So
it was because it was a fan service film. It was like you played the game, so you care about the stupid sci-fi.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think they just relied too much on it just pulling money in from, like you were saying before, this was made just to pull money in from existing fans rather than
it's Where's Wally, but for video games.
It really is. Yeah, it's like, get the reference. That's what you're here for. You're spending 2 hours being like, I know what that reference is. I played a game one time.
And other than that, I think most of the stuff I like just doesn't work as film. Like I can't think of a single JRPG that would work in film.
Persona was a TV series.
It's like if they made
I couldn't see that working
movie, and all the Portal movie had was like it's a cake thing as the reference,
just be
like
memes,
over and over again. Yeah. Like
I couldn't see Persona working as live action because the characters are too distinctive, and the minute you turn them into humans, like it wouldn't work.
Yeah, when Teddy became a human, I hated it.
Yeah. So I don't think that would work. The fighting games I like. I mean, we've all.
Tekken Bloodline.
They did try and do a Dead or Alive film, and that didn't quite work.
I mean, isn't the Mortal Kombat film good?
No,
yeah, made in Adelaide as well.
No.
Yes.
No. Transformate was the new one, not the old one.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No.
In Adelaide.
I'm going to keep saying it as long as I need to. No.
It's fun.
It film was not good at all. It was. I have very strong thoughts about this Mortal Kombat film.
It's totally fine.
None of them are positive. It's the one film where I actually went and looked for that. You know, that Cinema Mistakes terrible YouTube channel.
God, yeah.
Cinema Sins, yeah. I actually went and looked for the Mortal Kombat one for that because I just wanted to find material to hate on that film, and it gave me plenty. I
thought it was fine.
I hate it.
Totally reasonable. It's better than Resident Evil.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well,
I like the 80s.
Like,
the 80s Mortal Kombat films was good.
Yeah, 80s. The original Mortal Kombat's great. I think this one is like a close second. And then the third one is like insanely bad. Armageddon, what the hell it's called? Horrific. Trent, what would be one game that you would want to see as a TV show or a game?
Yeah, I like stuff which it's a TV show or a movie. I like stuff which like rides into that whole B grade stuff. Like I really loved the original Resident Evil stuff. Like I could easily see like Survival Kids Lost in Blue sort of stuff where it's like it just takes the fact that you're on an island and there's like a mafia thing and just ride that whole movie. It's like some B grade survival.
Isn't Survival Kids the film just Castaway or Lost?
No, I mean yeah, but there's like a B grade, like there's a whole conspiracy theory behind it. You got to pay into the film.
Yeah, that's Lost.
That's Lost.
It's Lost, but with less budget and less quality.
Lost never really leads anywhere. Lost is lost.
Yes, it does. It leads to a smoke monster.
Yeah, it leads to more questions.
Yeah,
that are never answered and are completely pointless, and it's a waste of time.
No, you know what I actually think would legitimately work is like just something like I didn't actually think about that when I said that. I really think like something really stupid like Fortnite maybe. Like
that would be funny actually.
No, why are you saying this? Don't encourage them.
No, like something just really, really like off the beaten path, like something really stupid. And as a video game property, it's like crap.
Yeah, just make a Saints Row film.
Yeah, I totally see what you mean. I totally see it. Like in my head, the Lego films are video game films because the Lego games were first, right? Yeah. And it's the same attitude of we'll just take an existing property and like make it fun by thinking, what if it was Lego? Like that was fine. That was enjoyable, but it was dumb, but it was good.
Yeah. So something like that. Maybe like, I don't know, like Fortnite. Yeah. Oh, Among Us. Among Us movie.
No, and Among Us would be like a 5-minute long like cartoon. It'd be like a
Four
5-minute long. Like,
Four Guys, the television show.
Oh, that
Just-
would also be
Actually, that would be pretty funny. It'd just be like a bunch of people in kind of rubber suits doing the Takeshi's Castle kind of thing, just running through.
So it's just Takeshi's Castle.
So essentially Ravens.
you're just wanting
so
Takeshi's
Four Guys
Castle
would
to
be
just
Ravens.
Takeshi Castle.
with basically like the floor is lava mixed in. That's what Four Guys would be. Ravens,
No.
floor is lava.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna buy a copy of Takeshi's Castle on DVD, cross out the name, and write
It's written before guys
and then give
movie.
it to Matt and be like, "It's Four Guys. They did it for you." And Harvard, what would be one show that you want to see?
I would want like something that's just already a good story but bad gameplay. So either a visual novel or like that Mafia game, Mafia 3. That was
Mafia 3 is really, really cool as a story, but the worst gameplay
Yeah.
of all time.
exactly really good as a story, but I could do with the shooty bits taken out. Like that would make a good movie. Or like
We'll
13
say-
Sentinels.
Oh, that
with
would
the
be a
gameplay
good,
taken out.
that would be a
good movie.
fun movie. Yeah, it'd probably work better as a TV series just because it's got so many plot lines that would need to.
Oh, that would be such a good idea. It's like a TV
Yeah.
series with 13 episodes that you watch
Yeah,
in
yeah.
whatever order you want.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. I will say one thing that could work. This never got released outside of Japan, but if you watch it, it's pretty funny. It's when they use the television show to kind of parody the base property. So they made a Dragon Quest, but it wasn't called Dragon Quest, but they made a Dragon Quest television show, which is real actors kind of walking around in line behind one another, throwing pots into the ground and having turn-based combat with kind of, person dressed up as slime. And it's a comedy show. Like it is just there to satirize the genre. And that could work for more things.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was to do a The Last of Us TV show, I would just make fun of The Last of Us, and rather than try and do it self-serious. I think that's part of the problem with a lot of these kind of adaptations. They're too self-serious.
They're trying to be art, but they're not because they're
Or
stupid.
They're
shit.
just trying to be like, the base property is serious as such, so they're not having fun enough with it. So yeah, I think that could work as well.
I'm gonna be really honest though. I love Disco Elysium a hell of a lot. I have zero interest in watching that show because the entire point of Disco Elysium
they're
is
making
you play it.
they're making a TV show about it. That's going to be terrible. That's gonna be
Unless they
absolutely
don't.
terrible. The whole
I hope
point
they
of that
don't make it about Harry Dubois. I don't want that.
the whole
don't want
point of that game is to pick which of the four kind of political alignments you want to kind of go down, which path. So what are they going to do? Shoot 4 different versions of it and let you select which one? Do you want to do the communist
Oh, it
version
could be like
of
a
the show or the
Netflix
fascist
game
version of the show?
movie.
I would
Yes,
just
let's
be
do
playing the
that.
game.
Yeah, just
I
go
would
play
play
the
the
game at that
game.
point.
It's like- I don't. Yeah, I have no interest in Disco Elysium. I think that I love the game itself is just one of my favorite games. So
Phenomenal.
It's got nothing to do with the property. It's just the one thing about that game. The whole point of it was to kind of go down the political ideological rabbit hole, and when you replay it, go down a different one. So you play as the communist one time, then the next time you go down the fascist hole if you can. I can never select the right choices to do that because I just can't bring myself to do so. But anyway, you do go down different paths and you see how it kind of affects the plot. The TV show is going to assume that there's just one version of that, which is defeating
They
the
They
point.
better
of it
make Harry a
completely.
massive communist. They better make him a fucking communist.
pretty sure,
so
like,
pissed
just-
off.
The feeling I get from the game is that path is kind of the default one that you're meant to go down. Like that's just the feeling I get from it, is that's the way the developers kind of assume people would want to go. But who knows if the TV show will be like that.
It's been adapted for TV. It's going to be Americanized, and it's going to be based off the American political system because that's the only right way to be political.
And they're going to play Don't Start Now by Dua Lipa, and then Harry Dubois is going to start dancing to it. It's going to be great. Anyway, don't watch Netflix's Resident Evil series. Horrible show.
Yeah, that's we just spent the last 35 minutes of this podcast just to say that, really. That was the whole point.
That was
of
the
this.
extent. That was. I mean, before we started this section, I was saying to Matt, I just want to talk about how much I hated that show. He was like, "Yeah, all right, let's go." So
The show was so bad it made us talk about how every game movie is bad, not just
except
Resident
Sonic,
Evil. Except Sonic. Your
which
boy
is
Sonic.
insane to me.